Hello, my name is Rainer Hanekamp. This is NG News with the latest updates from the Angular community every week. Angular 21.2 was released. According to the plan, that one's going to be the last minor before the next major, which will be 22 in May. According to semantic versioning, minor release means bug fixes and smaller features, and there were plenty of them this time. SignalForms have picked up several useful features which round them out, and it seems that we are moving towards a developer preview or stable direction already. For example, the way how we deal with form submissions became much easier. You no longer have to wire up this yourself. You just add the FormRoot directive to the form and it turns off the browser's default submit behavior, which would be a full page reload. You configure the submit handler via the submission option of the form function. By default, that means that the submission also happens when asynchronous validators are still pending. You have to know that when an asynchronous validator starts, it sets the invalid property to false. And for the submission, the criterion to start is when invalid is false. The default is permissive because the server will validate again on submit anyway. So there is no need to wait for the async validators before allowing the request. For custom controls, we now have the ability to use the transformedValue utility for formatting and parsing. It can be used for input fields with non-English number or date formats. The features for custom controls, but also the better form submission, that's really great. But most of us are working with an existing Angular application. And for us, probably the most important new feature is the SignalFormControl. It allows us to introduce a form control to reactive forms, which supports, for example, those advanced validation rules from SignalForms. And if it is a SignalFormControl, we can also use the form field directive instead of the form control name. That makes the migration to SignalForms much easier. The resource snapshot is now finally also available. The resource snapshot was already planned for Angular 21. It was already in the main branch, but it got reverted. In short, resource snapshots can be used to come up with derived resources or just generally speaking for resource composition. The example given in the docs changes the default behavior of setting the value to undefined during loading to keeping the original value. In Angular's codebase, the snapshot is mainly used for testing, where it acts as a very convenient resource factory function. We will see what further use cases are possible. As the CLI provides already a full integration of Tailwind CSS, Angular 21.2 also integrates Prettier as a first-class citizen, so to say. And also the syntax in the template, which is not JavaScript, got extended by two new features. We can now use Lambda functions directly. The favored use case here is to call the update method on a signal. Generally speaking, logic should stay out of the template, so don't overuse that feature. And the switch statement now supports an exhaustive check, which means the compiler verifies that all possible cases are covered. And as already announced, the ChangeDetectionStrategy value of default was renamed to Eager. That is because in Angular 22, which will be released in May, onPush becomes the default. And therefore it doesn't make sense to have a value called default as the default setting. Hence, Eager. And just to be sure, no one is forcing you to use onPush. Even if it becomes default in Angular 22, the update script will change existing change detection strategy default values to Eager. For further information, you can check out the official changelog. And this time, big thanks and a big shout out to Cedric Expraya, because his blog was the main source for this episode. So merci beaucoup, Cedric. And that's it. I wish you a nice week and see you in the next episode. Goodbye.